30, what's the delay?
His finger.
Leave that there, you have it standing today.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tom Fagione. I'll be acting chair of the Ways and Means Committee for today. Today is Tuesday, June 27th, 2023. The time is now 3:30, and I call to order the meeting of the Ways and Means Committee. A copy of the agenda for today's meeting can be found on the county website under the tab for the legislature. This time, I please ask that you silence all electronic devices, including your cell phones. Ask you rise for a moment of silent reflection, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Carrie, would you please call the roll?
Sockett,
Present.
Brescia, O'Donnell,
Here.
Fagione,
Here.
Klein,
Here.
Sierra, Paduk, Cheney,
Here.
three absent.
Thank you, Carrie. This time we'll turn to the agenda items. And at this time, I'd ask that a representative, actually Matt Nofhagel from the county attorney's office, join us here at the table. And I'll seek a motion and a second on the following. This is a request to approve the release of the county's interest in and to certain deed sale parcel to the previous owners of record, to wit, Town of Walk Hill, Section 107, Block 1, Lot 35. The delinquent property taxes were paid prior to the public auction, but after the county had took title to the property. This is legislative request number 152. I seek a motion and a second. I'll make the motion myself. And a second by Mr. Cheney. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Chairman. This is a rather routine request to vacate a judgment deed under local law 2010. We won contested litigation and actually since a lien holder who's paying trying to foreclose. But this will at least give the owner one more chance to try to save the property and get the taxes that we're owing, probably the interest. As usual, one of these things that's good for everybody.
Okay. I'll open it up to questions here on the floor. Not seeing any questions. Okay, that being said, I'll call the question. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll turn to item number 2. And I see we have Commissioner and Deputy Commissioner, Commissioner Brooks from the Parks and Recreation, and Deputy Commissioner Deanna Crawford. This is a request supplemental appropriation to the capital projects budget in the amount of $97,337 for the construction of a pole barn for the Stony Ford Golf Course maintenance. The amount of the proposed project in capital 2023 capital plan was $135,000. Upon approval, the funds will be added to increase capital project number 717 through bonding. This is legislative request number 153. I seek a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
All right, motion by Mr. Cheney, second by Mr. O'Donnell. Commission, Deputy Commissioner, floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. Deanna's going to take us through this.
Good afternoon. This is for a pole barn for the golf maintenance at Stony Ford. This is in addition to what we originally went in for, which was $135,000. That was just to start the project. We just had an off-the-street estimate. We obviously had to bid and get prevailing wage. And with that, this is the number that it has arrived at, $97,337. That also includes electric, which is a large component of it.
I'll open it up to questions here at the table. Not seeing any, I will then call the question. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 3, we will have Eric Denenga, Commissioner, Department of Public Works. I see Brian Titsworth with us at the table. We have several items. We'll start with letter A. This is a request supplemental appropriation to the capital projects budget for ADA improvements. This project has been approved under the 2023 capital plan as project number 23. Upon approval, a new capital project will be created, $50,000 via bonding. This is legislative request number 161, and I seek a motion and a second, please. Motion by Mr. Brescia. I'll make the second myself. And Ryan, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So this is one of our yearly projects. These are all annual projects, all four we have here. This is for ADA improvements as needed in our buildings. We currently have an RFP under development that we're going to send out soon. It's going to analyze all of our buildings, evaluate them for any deficiencies they have. So this money will allow us to fix those, more quickly.
Okay. And this is, if I'm not mistaken, this passed Ways and Means yesterday. I believe it was unanimous.
Yes.
Or check that, fiscal services.
Yes.
Okay. I'll open it up to questions here at the table. Not seeing any. I'll call the question on letter A. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll move to letter B. This is, I'll seek a motion and a second on the following. Request supplemental appropriation to the capital projects budget for building, equipment replacement and installation. This project has been approved under the 2023 capital plan as project number 26. Upon approval, a new capital project will be created, $150,000 via bonding. This is legislative request number 163. Seek a motion and a second, please. I'll make the motion myself. I need a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Cheney. Fine, the floor is yours, sir.
Okay, thank you. It's another one of our annual asks for building equipment replacements. For, boilers, AC units, whatever else is needed. This money is slated to replace the boiler in the courthouse next door. It's about 24 years old now, so we're looking to replace both of those boilers over there.
I'll open up to questions here at the table. Not seeing any. I'll call the question then. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to letter C. Request supplemental appropriation to the capital projects budget for various building improvements. This project has been approved under the 2023 capital plan as project number 27. Upon approval, a new capital project will be created, $350,000 via bonding. This is legislative request number 164. I need a motion and a second, please. Motion by Mr. Brescia, second by Mr. Hines. Brian, again, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Again, it's one of our annual programs for various building improvements. This money will go towards the courthouse roof rehabilitation next door. We have some exterior concrete replacement to do, 18 Sword Avenue, Milltown, also some exterior railings and masonry repair. And we've been updating our DPW admin office building on the inside. So money will go towards that.
All righty. Again, I'll open it up to questions here at the table. Not seeing any. I'll call the question then. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to letter D. This is a request supplemental appropriation to the capital projects budget for asbestos and lead removal at various locations. This project has been approved under the 2023 capital plan as project number 25. Upon approval, a new capital project will be created, $50,000 via bonding. This is legislative request number 165. I need a motion and a second, please. I'll make the motion myself, and I need a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Cheney. Brian again.
Thank you. It's another one of our annual programs for asbestos and lead removal or lead paint removal in buildings as needed. We still have some old buildings that do have asbestos in them. So when issues come up, this money is used for both, analyzing it and removing it to small amount.
Okay. I'll offer questions here at the table. Not seeing any. I'll call the question then. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Brian, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving along to agenda item number 4. We have our Commissioner of Finance and our deputies here with us today. Terry Gallagher, Michael Schreiber, and Andrea Concanon joining us here at the table. Good afternoon, everyone. We have several items today. We'll start with letter A. This is a request to reduce the budget of any unspent federal, state, local, or interfund authorizations on completed capital projects. Any county funds will be returned to its original source. These transactions will balance the project's budget, revenue, and expense in preparation to close the projects. This is legislative request number 170. I seek a motion and a second. I'll make that motion myself. And Mr. Cheney will make the second. Commissioner, the floor is yours.
Sure. So the next 4 items on the agenda, we do this annually. It's what's required in order to clean up our books. And as you just stated, the first one is just to reduce the budget on any unspent funds.
Any questions here at the table? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Letter B, request that the capital projects budgets be adjusted due to unborrowed amounts that have passed their 10-year life and are now deemed repealed. The county's authorized and unissued bonds will also be decreased. This is legislative request number 171. Motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Mr. Cheney and Mr. Hines, Commissioner.
Sure, so this one, as you stated, it's past its 10-year life, and therefore we should come in and close it.
I'll call the question then. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Letter C, request to transfer any unspent revenues from completed capital projects to debt service in preparation to close said projects. This is legislative request number 172. Motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Mr. Cheney, and I'll make the second myself. Again, Commissioner.
Sure, so then this one is a requirement that we need a county resolution, and then the next one that you'll be speaking about is a bond resolution. That's why these two are broken up. And once again, it's required to close out the projects in question.
Any questions here at the table? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Letter D, request to reduce previously authorized bond resolutions for various completed capital projects. The request would facilitate the closing of the completed projects and reduce the authorized but unissued debt that has exceeded the actual borrowings. This is legislative request number 173. A motion and a second, please.
Second.
Mr. Hines, Mr. Cheney, and Commissioner, I think that buttresses with C, correct?
It does, so the opposite, so like I stated, this requires a bond resolution. That's why it's broken out of the opposite of C.
Any questions here at the table? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to letter E. This is a request supplemental appropriation to the finance budget in the amount of $500,000 to appoint special district attorney on the case of the People versus Edward V. Holly as per an order of the Honorable James McCarty. Funding to come from the contingency. This is legislative request number 179. I seek a motion and a second, please. And I'll make the motion myself, and I need a second.
Second.
Second for Mr. Cheney. Commissioner, the floor is yours.
Sure, so there was a conflict with the current DA, and therefore he could not oversee this case. Outside counsel is ordered by the court, and we are just taking that money into our budget so we can pay the invoices on that.
Okay, I'll open it up to questions here at the table. I'll start with Mr. Anagostakis. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I don't really know the details on this. You said the money was taken in, the money was given to us, 500,000?
No, this the money is coming from contingency. I'm sorry, it was court order that we
The
seek
court-
outside counsel.
Okay, but did the judge order that we appropriate 500,000, or how did we come up with that number?
The county attorney's office.
Do you know anything?
I don't know anything.
I'm sorry.
I apologize on that number. That's what I believe that it was. It could be up to $500,000 is obviously only what I'm allowed to pay, but I'm not sure how they came up with the $500,000.
Right, so we don't know if the judge said up to 500,000, or if someone in Orange County decided 500,000. Okay, I'd like to know that answer.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Anagostakis. Next, I have Mr. O'Donnell. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So did anyone get a copy of that order besides the district attorney's office?
So we'll have the copy in my office apps. That is what I would be using to pay the invoices on. So yes,
You don't have it now.
I don't believe I have it now. no.
No, that's why we don't have any answers as far as your 500,000. We don't have a copy of the order of the judge. And my guess is, just from past experience, it's, could be more than 500,000. It depends on how deep they go into analysis on DNA. There's a lot involved in this case, so. But,
I can get you that answer and I can send it to you.
well, I
as
would
soon as
hope we
possible.
have a copy of that order in everybody's mailbox by the time we vote July 6th.
I could do that as well.
So we
I-
have all the information that's available.
I'm sorry that I didn't know that answer.
Well, you wouldn't, they didn't give you a copy.
Yeah,
Sent over.
I mean,
It's just sent over notes, give us 500 grand. Thank you.
Okay, next I have Mr. Anagnestakis.
Thank you again. Yeah, I just want to clarify. You never got the order from the judge, or you just don't have it with you, or?
So I don't have it with me, and I'm not saying that it's not in the finance department once that it's there, but I have not seen that order.
But it
yet.
could be in someone's hands
It
in
could
Orange
be in,
County.
yes, I'm sure it's in
Okay.
someone's hands in Orange.
Okay.
Yes.
No, it's not,
Yeah.
if it was in the finance department,
Well,
You
if it was
would
in
have
the
seen it.
department, if it's in the accounts payable side, I
you would
could,
have seen.
I might not have seen it yet, but I will have seen it before we start paying the invoices.
Mr. Chairman, I would suggest, and I think you're already going to do this, that a copy of that be sent over to our clerk for this committee, and then it can be distributed to everyone.
I don't think that's beyond the realm, but I am going to turn to, we have our chairwoman, Katie Benelli. The floor is yours, Katie.
Unfortunately, Mr. Golden isn't available today. However, I will call him first thing tomorrow and see if we can get the requested information. And all of you will be distributed to all of you. So
Thank you.
I'll work with you.
Thank you, yeah, and I can call, I'll call someone in the DA's office as well.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Mr. Anagnestakis. Next, I have Mr. Cheney, followed by Mr. Hines.
Just to follow up on some of the other discussion, and that is, if the order doesn't contain the basis for the $500,000, if you could research that and provide that to the legislature as
Sure.
well. Thank you.
Good point. Thank you, Mr. Cheney. Next, I have Mr. Hines.
Do we know if the DA is not allowed to participate in this conversation, or someone from the DA's office can't be here? I'm shocked that they're not, to be honest with you.
So what I was told from the DA's office, as well as why it's in our budget, is because it was a conflict with the case. Therefore, by appropriating the money into his budget would be the same conflict.
Right.
Therefore, that's why, honestly, I don't want to say took one for the team, but I'm putting it in our budget because that's where else it could go. So I don't know that answer about whether it's a conflict of her speaking on that, but that's why it's in the finance department's budget.
Who told you to write it up for 500,000?
That's what the original request was, that initially was going to come out of the DA's office until the DA stated that it would be a conflict of interest from him. So we took the resolution and put it under finance. So that's where the $500,000.
So one of the lawyers in the DA's office came up with that number, at least as a starting point. I tend to agree with Mr. O'Donnell based on what I read about this, that it could be higher. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Hines. So what we would ask, Commissioner, is that any of that documentation that you could find, if you could send, and we're of course going to follow up with Mr. Golden in the county attorney's office as well. We'll make that
I'll make the
available,
call once I leave here this afternoon.
and we'll make that available to everyone here on the committee as well as all legislators.
Of course.
I'll ask the table, any additional questions on this? Mr. Hines, go ahead.
When you get that information, can you try to find out what the conflict is? Is it because the state police made an arrest and the DA wasn't happy about it, or does someone in his office have a direct conflict? We know that? Maybe the county attorney would be best to explain that to us if it can't be the DA.
I would just caution us all not to, no disrespect to anyone at the table here, but none of us are lawyers, so I would hate for us to
Yeah, I don't
speculate
know
on
what I
those
can
legal
state.
matters.
I can't state.
That's why I'm asking the
Yeah.
question.
And not having our legal counsel in the room right now in terms of the legislature itself. We'll see how that paperwork comes down from there. And then maybe on July 6th at our session, if additional questions present themselves, make them available at that meeting. Mr. O'Donnell, any follow-up? You had your hand up. Are you good? Okay, thank you, Mr. O'Donnell. Any additional questions here at the table? Appreciate the dialogue and conversation. That being said, I will call the question on this matter. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Commissioner, thank you so much in terms of getting that information to us,
Sure,
and any follow-up on that, we would appreciate.
of course.
Okay, next we have a sales tax update. Commissioner, go ahead, the floor is yours.
Sure. So as we do every month, we provided you our 3 spreadsheets. The first spreadsheet that I'm going to be discussing states that we have received 2 out of 3 of our June payments. So we'll have one more payment actually on Friday for our June. Year to date, we are 1.35% over budget, or 1.3 million over budget. And at the same time last year, we were 5.84% over budget. 47 out of 57 counties have reported a sales tax revenue decrease. We are not one of them for the prior year, so that's a great trend. Our sales tax collections are slowing. However, still, we are not one of those 47 counties that saw a decrease.
Commissioner, I appreciate the data and the info. I'll open the table up to questions here at the table in terms of any of the sales tax information. Not seeing any questions. Commissioner and deputies, thank you so much for your information today. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Moving along, ask our budget director, Deb Zelinski, and Deputy Commissioner Gretchen Reardon to join us here at the table. And we got Gretchen. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
And in keeping with our sales tax update from finance, Gretchen Reardon, our Deputy Budget Director, could you give us an update on the budget, please?
Sure. Deb provided you all with a copy of our budget status report as of May. Year-to-date expenses are $248 million. Year-to-date revenue is $170 million. That is largely due to county taxation is not yet posted. When that is posted, our revenue will be at $258 million. And this ties very closely to where we were at this point last year.
I'll open it up to questions here at the table. I want to thank everybody for your attention there. And Gretchen, great job. Thank you so much for being here today. Moving along to item number 6, we have our Director of Real Property and Tax Service, Mr. Paul Wiley here. I will seek a motion and a second on the following, and this is letter A. This is a request to sell. And at the end of this, I just want to make a statement before we begin the dialogue. A request to sell to the town of Montgomery a property at 131 Bracken Road, town of Montgomery, section 30, block 1, lot 76, a 139.7 acre parcel of vacant land. The property is part of a tract that has been held by the county since 1991 and has been utilized only for limited crops since that time. The town wishes to purchase the property from the county for a tourism-based project that would provide substantial economic benefit to the county. This is legislative request number 140. Now, just for clarity, yesterday, this same resolution appeared before the Fiscal Services Committee. It was during that committee that a revision was made to this resolution. That revision was an update to the last sentence of the resolution. So I would ask this committee without objection that the original resolution as presented be withdrawn, and our discussion here at the floor would be in regards to, as it has been described as the red letter revision that passed Fiscal Services yesterday. Mr. Cheney, you were chairman yesterday. Could you just read the change that was made? And without objection, I'll look for a motion and a second to discuss as revised.
So at the end, in the last paragraph, basically, the last sentence was revised to read, each of the time constraints noted in conditions 6A and 6C may be extended by the county acting by and through the county executive. And then what was added was by no more than 3 months. And then it went on, if in writing and for good cause demonstrated. And then the following sentence was then added, any additional extensions may only be granted by the Orange County Legislature.
So before we begin any discussion, I would seek a motion and a second on the revised resolution, and in that action, we would be withdrawing the original. So without a
Second.
okay. So without objection, then we're going to discuss, and I have Mr. Brescia and Mr. Cheney on the revision. So we're going to now discuss as revised. Mr. Wiley, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. And thanks again for the opportunity to present this opportunity for the county here. What happened is the town of Montgomery is seeking a site for tourism-based economic development, and the county has a site on Route 17K that would fit well with this. We've been looking for something to do with this site since over the last few years anyway. We've had this property since 1991. It is 131.7 acres, of which 50 something or so is wetlands, leaving 81.46 acres of upland area. It is irregularly shaped, the resulting upland. So it provides not necessarily a full 81 acres that can be developed. It's more 3 different areas that could be. So it doesn't fit well for certain development, but could be used for others. The town is seeking to have a tourism-based project developed on this site, and the county agrees that this would be a good opportunity for both the town and the county.
Thank you, Mr. Wiley, for that information. I'll open it up to questions here at the table. Mr. O'Donnell, the floor is yours, sir.
So just a clarification, so was it the last two sentences that were added?
The last sentence was added and changes were made, additions were made to the previous.
So we added the 3 months for the county executive to do it, and then after 3 months, gotta be us,
Right.
basically.
Yes, yeah, it was felt that it was too broad.
Excellent. So who wrote this original?
Rick Goldberg.
Oh, I gotta give him credit. Oh,
Gotta
my
give him
God.
credit.
Is it always not the answer to
nice
the
job.
question before you ask?
He's not here, so you're okay.
It was great because it's short and to the point and it's got everything in it. No, it's probably one of the best resolutions I've seen. Whether you agree with the project or don't agree with the project, everything you need to know is right there. And kudos to you for putting the additions on. So very good. Tell Rick I was praising.
You won't believe it.
Make sure it's on tape.
You're good.
And may I add to that, it was well thought out, the way this deal is going to be put together, so that the county would get their money after the town does the approvals for whatever the project winds up being. If that doesn't happen within a period of time, the property would revert back to us. It can't be used for anything other than a tourism-based project, which means that it can't be, say, a large footprint warehouse, which would be one of the more likely scenarios. This property, I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with the area, but this is right along the Route 17K corridor. It's developing commercial property. It's a mixed area with Amazon warehouse to one side, Medline in the other direction. It's sandwiched between two different exits for Route 84, so it's approachable from both directions. As far as I'm concerned, having something like this in the county will be a boon to local area, it'll be a boon to schools where children can go and learn about whatever winds up being there. It's just going to be a great area.
Yeah, but you have a school, right? Berea School is right down the road, a couple of 100 yards.
Right, and then there's 2 other schools within a couple of miles.
Yes.
Field trip.
Field trips.
I have Mr. Brush.
Yeah, I'll just reiterate a little bit what I said yesterday. The potential project, it seems worthwhile. Doesn't seem to be much opposition locally, which we did have with Medline and Amazon, 1.3 million square foot warehouses. So, the traffic patterns will be similar to Legoland's off peak hours, 10 o'clock in the morning, roughly 8 or 9 o'clock at night. So, and the developer is willing to pay a host community agreement from what I've heard, and give discounts to Tom Montgomery children. What I've heard so far is a lot of positives. I believe it's tents. Jerry, is it tents? Have you heard of that project or not?
Sorry.
Do you represent this project or not? Oh, I'm sorry, I just assumed. But anyway, it's gonna be probably not permanent structures, 9 or 10 months out of the year. So I think it's win-win, and hopefully it moves forward.
Right.
Because we're finally getting, like I said to Barry in the committee yesterday, that we're finally getting something for market value, which all the other properties that we sold seem to take a large haircut, so.
And from what I've seen of the site plan, there are 1 or 2 permanent structures. They would be steel-sided garages that would be for maintenance of equipment. Everything else, as you said, would be more like tents that wouldn't be permanent.
Again, Mr. Nagustakis, followed by our chairwoman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For whatever it's worth, I'm a legislator in that district, and every single one of my constituents have access to me and call me quite often, and I've not gotten one person at all that has reached out to me complaining on it. So I think that's a positive thing.
Thank you, Mr. Nagustakis. And Madam Chair, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And it should be noted, and it was noted yesterday, that in preparation for preparing these resolutions and bringing it to committee, it was requested that the town of Montgomery send us a letter of support. I did receive that letter of support. I believe it was emailed to all legislators individually, like a week or so ago. The town board did meet. They discussed it, obviously, because of real property. It was an executive session. But the consensus is that this town board is totally in support of this project. So I just wanted to add that to those of you that may not have heard.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Mr. Anagnestakis.
Yeah, just very quickly, I want to just piggyback on that. The way I read it, 5 out of 5 people on the town board supported this, so there's no opposition at all.
Correct.
So just wanted to make that doubly clear. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, I'll ask if there's any additional questions here at the table. I don't see any, so I'm going to call the question. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for great dialogue. Not done yet, but we're almost done. Mr. Wiley, we have some deed sale parcels to examine. If you would, the floor is yours, sir.
This month we have 2 different bids for properties. The first one is in the town of Montgomery, further down Route 17. further down, okay? This is a 31.6 acre property that is mostly dominated by wetland and swamps. The county acquired it after in inland foreclosure last year, and unbeknownst to us, that the property has been, the wetland area has been growing and creeping into the adjoining properties, so that it's creating an issue that the county will have to eventually address. The bid is from a group of people who are the surrounding property owners who are offering to buy the property, take it off the county's hands, and deal with the flooding situation themselves. To that end, their bid is $5,500, which is obviously less than the amount of back taxes, penalties, and interest that is owed. But that is due to the fact that they are going to probably incur significant expenses to remedy the situation.
Mr. Wiley, I'm going to interject for just a moment. I need to do my homework a little bit better. I need a motion and a second on this discussion. Motion by Mr. Brescia,
Second.
second by Mr. Cheney. We got great staff here to make sure that this all taken care of. So I apologize for the interruption.
No problem. I don't need to repeat that.
No, you don't.
So in this case, although, as I said, the bid is less than the amount in back taxes that is owed, I'm suggesting and recommending that we accept this bid to allow the adjoining property owners to acquire the property and to render the remedy that's necessary to fix the situation and secure their property.
Mr. Wiley, I appreciate that info. I'll open it up to questions here at the table. We're going to move on. Mr. O'Donnell, go ahead.
How long has this been on?
This one since just last year, 2022.
Is the first time it's been put up for bid?
No, actually, it was put up for bid last year, I believe it was September, and we got a bid for $30,000 at the time. The person bidding is one of the adjoining property owners who did not realize how bad the situation was going to be and what was going to be her responsibility in trying to fix it. She wound up reneging on her bid. We kept her deposit. So in addition to the $5,500, we did also get $3,000 for this property already to soften the blow somewhat.
Any additional questions? Madam Chair, I'm going to refer to you. Do we have to vote separately on these deed sale parcels? How do we handle that?
You can vote.
We'll vote collectively at the end. Okay.
Unless there's an issue that somebody would like to state that they have a problem with.
Okay. So if there's any additional questions on the first parcel, we'll move on to the second parcel. Mr. Wiley, go ahead, please.
This second parcel is a small triangular piece of land that is landlocked. It's 20 feet along the short side, 101 feet along one of the long sides. It is, it appears to have been divided by a deed from 1948. We cannot figure out the purpose of this small triangular piece of land. It's a subdivision from back in the 1930s and 40s. It has lake access in this area, so it's a lot of smaller parcels. This property has been sitting on the leftover list since 2001. We have sent out letters to the adjoining property owners at least 3 times that I can find, going back in the last 15 years, and none of them has offered to buy the property. So now somebody else is offering $100 to buy it. I do realize that there's over $1,400 in back taxes, penalties, and interest, but this is one of the first bids we've ever gotten for this property. And I'm saying to let it go for the $100 to get it back on the tax roll and perhaps have something.
I'll offer the table for questions. Mr. Cheney?
Does the property have any lake rights?
That's not clear, actually, exactly what rights this small property has. There's references in the deed and the adjoining deeds to the properties in the subdivision having lake rights. They are shared by I guess it's a community lake access that the other parcels have. It's not clear if this property has any kind of access or right of way for ingress, no easements. It's unclear to us without doing an extensive title search. And that's just beyond the scope of, we looked at the deeds, we tried to figure out what was going on and just willing to just let it go. Let somebody else incur the cost.
Any additional questions here? Go ahead, Mr. Cheney.
So how many, over the last 30 years, how many property owners have there been? And has this been going through a tax process prior?
As far as I know, this has been ours since 2001. And I don't know about prior to that.
Thank you, Chairman.
You got it, Mr. Cheney. The recommendation is yes on both. With that being said, I'll call the question here. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That is it for the agenda. I'll seek a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
All right. Thank you all. You all have a great day. Thank you.